Bugatti looked a regular guy in the eye and told him this car was impossible to fix outside of their factory. Then, this happened.
We've got a few reps. Big moment. Oh my god, please stop. Please stop. Yeah? Let's do it. Whoa, it's starting off. That's pretty good.
They said only a handful of technicians on the entire planet had the knowledge and the equipment to even attempt a repair. They said without their million-pound assembly machines, their proprietary tools and their certified engineers, this Chiron was basically a very expensive piece of modern art. And then Matt Armstrong walked into his garage, grabbed a set of jacks and started splitting the car in half. Hit the like button, share and subscribe to this channel. Let that land for a second. Bugatti, one of the most prestigious automotive manufacturers in the world, a brand that charges over $3 million for a car, publicly implied that this repair was beyond the reach of anyone outside their factory walls. And a guy in a regular garage just called their bluff. Not with factory machines, not with a team of certified Bugatti technicians, with jacks and bin wheels. The kind you find in any workshop that's been around long enough to collect random equipment. Every time Matt drops a new video, Bugatti's impossible claim ages a little worse. And today, it just got a whole lot older. But before we get to the moment the engine goes back in, let's talk about how this whole thing even got to this point. Because the story of how you split a Bugatti Chiron in half in a private garage is exactly as insane as it sounds. The Chiron is what happens when engineers are given unlimited money and told to make something that shouldn't exist. It's a 16-cylinder, quad-turbocharged monster producing close to 1,500 horsepower. It weighs over 2 tons. It can hit 300 kilometers per hour without breaking a sweat. And it is built in Molsheim, France, in a facility where every single car is assembled by hand by a small team of specialists, using equipment so specific to the process that Bugatti has essentially used it as their argument for why nobody else can do what they do. The message has always been clear. You don't fix a Chiron, you send it to Bugatti, or you don't fix it at all. Matt Armstrong did not get that memo. Or he got it, read it carefully, and decided it was the most motivating thing he'd ever seen. So here's where things stand. The car has been split. Front half, rear half. 2 separate pieces of what used to be one of the most expensive cars ever built, now sitting in a garage on makeshift supports. The method they used to do this, which Bugatti implied required factory-level infrastructure, turned out to be achievable with standard workshop jacks and a bit of patience. Somewhere in Molsheim, someone definitely needed a moment after that video went up. But splitting the car was just the beginning. Because once you're inside the Chiron, you start finding problems. And one of the biggest problems in this build was the engine mount. The mount had failed. And when you're talking about a component that holds a 16-cylinder engine in place, the failure options are not great. The team had 2 choices. Machine a completely new mount from scratch using CNC equipment, or repair the original. Both options come with serious risk, because the engine mount is directly connected to the alignment of the crank sensors. And crank sensor alignment in an engine like this is not a margin of error situation. You're talking about tolerances measured in fractions of a millimeter. Get it wrong by just a little, and the engine management system doesn't recognize the signal correctly. Get it wrong by a bit more than that, and the engine simply doesn't run. Full stop. The decision was made to repair the original mount. A machinist welded it. Carefully. Precisely. And here's the part that should make Bugatti's quality control team deeply uncomfortable. The repaired mount is now structurally stronger than the factory original. A part that Bugatti designed, manufactured, and installed from new has been outperformed by a repair job done in a private workshop. Which raises a question Bugatti probably doesn't want asked out loud. If an independent machinist can produce a stronger result than the factory, what exactly were we paying for in the first place? That question gets even better when you find out what lies underneath the Chiron's engine cover, the starter motor. The component responsible for bringing a 16-cylinder, $3 million hypercar to life. It's a Volkswagen part. Specifically, it's the same starter motor used in a Volkswagen 1.9 TDI diesel engine. The kind of engine you find in a family hatchback. The kind of car you use to do the weekly shop. You are paying $3 million for a car that shares a starter motor with a car that costs $30,000. And that's not a criticism of the engineering. Volkswagen Group owns Bugatti, and if a part works, it works. but it is one of the funniest things you will ever learn about the hypercar world. Imagine sitting at a dinner party, explaining that your £3 million hypercar and your neighbor's diesel Golf share a part. Actually, don't imagine it. Just watch Matt's face when he pulls it out and figures out where it came from. The Volkswagen connection doesn't stop the build, but Bugatti's refusal to supply parts almost does. This is the part of the story that should genuinely annoy you, because it's not even about the money. Bugatti will not sell parts for this car to anyone outside of their official network. Not to independent repairers, not to private owners trying to fix their own property. They will not supply what you need. Which means, when the team finds that one of the coolant pipes has been crushed during the incident that damaged the car in the first place, they cannot simply order a new one. Bugatti won't sell it. So what do? They fix the crushed pipe using a section of rubber hose. It's not factory, it's not elegant, but it works, and it keeps the build moving forward. Meanwhile, Bugatti's strategy of withholding parts to make independent repair impossible is slowly being dismantled, one improvised solution at a time. The rebuild doesn't need Bugatti's permission. It just needs creativity. And creativity is something this garage has in abundance. Now the engine goes back in, and this is the moment the whole repair either proves itself or falls apart. Because the engine mount that was welded by the machinist, the one that now supposedly exceeds factory strength, is about to bear the full weight of a 16-cylinder engine lowering into position. All the theory ends here. All the calculations, all the alignment work, all the trust placed in a weld that was done outside of a factory by someone Bugatti would never certify. The engine drops. The mount takes the load. And it holds. It holds completely. The weld doesn't move. The alignment doesn't shift. The crank sensors sit exactly where they need to sit. A small machine shop just solved a problem that Bugatti implied required factory-level engineering. Let that breathe for a second. By this point, the story has already humiliated the official narrative several times over. But the best moment might still be the physical reunion of the car itself. Because here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. The entire Bugatti Chiron, front half and rear half, the two sections of a car worth multiple millions of pounds, are held together by 14 titanium bolts. 14. Bugatti uses a machine the size of a small building to apply precise torque to those bolts in a controlled factory environment. Matt Armstrong's team does it in a garage. Different approach, same result. And the idea that this required factory equipment is becoming harder and harder to defend with every bolt that goes in. 14 bolts, and then one of them snaps. Mid-torque, the bolt shears. And now there's a broken bolt embedded in the car. The two halves are technically still not fully joined, and the build is facing a problem that nobody wanted at this stage. Do you laugh or do you panic? Both seem reasonable. The team is closer than they've ever been to having a complete car again, and a single bolt has thrown everything back into question. Can they extract it without damaging the mating surface? Can they source a replacement titanium bolt to the correct specification? Will the car ever actually be one piece again? And that's before we even get to the question everyone watching this build is really thinking about. Will it start? After everything. After the split, after the welded mount, after the Volkswagen starter motor, after the rubber hose coolant repair, after the snapped bolt, after every moment Bugatti said was impossible, and this garage decided to attempt anyway. Will the engine actually fire? 1,479 horsepower, waiting behind a key turn. Nobody knows yet. But one thing is certain. If it does start, somewhere inside Bugatti's headquarters, someone is going to have a very bad afternoon.